Thank you so much for tuning in today and to be back after the break, because we have several very interesting people still to come. And the next one is someone you might know already, because she's a very motivated and very energetic feminist, and we are very happy to have her. I'd like to warmly welcome Professor Allmendinger. She is this year's chair of the Gender Equality Advisory Council, and as I just said, she is a feminist by heart, because you already told me, but also she is a scientist, and we believe that we need more data to make our cases. So, Professor Allmendinger, the floor is yours. We are happy to understand what's going to happen next.
Thank you very, very much for this kind introduction, dear women of W7, and now they're only cameramen, but we are very much integrating men as well. I watched yesterday's performance, and congratulations, the W7 is nothing but a powerhouse. Great, thank you. I'm indeed very stunned, I have to say, and I like to say, by the knowledge, the energy, the commitment, the wisdom, the engagement of all those wonderful women connecting the entire world. I'm also deeply impressed, really deeply impressed by the solidarity. We not always have solidarity, at least not in this country, but here is solidarity rather than competition. W7, W20, Y7 march together, hand in hand, encompassing all ages, classes, sexual preferences, and identities. They do it across continents, political systems, and climate zones. This is really important, and it's exactly what we need, a women's movement joined by everyone. Gender equality cannot be achieved by individuals alone. And gender inequality is not our individual fault. Stop blaming the victim. This is what I usually have to say, and very often so. Instead, it is high time to change systems that maintain structural and physical discrimination, politics that allocate unequal, highly gendered resources, cultures that perpetuate gender stereotypes. It's time to join forces. Let's do it together. As chairwoman of GEAC 2021, the G7's Gender Equality Advisory Council, I will contribute my very, very best to achieve this goal. We invite women and men, known and unknown, old and young, rich and poor, straight and queer, from G7 states and G7 partner states. It is a fascinating group, diverse in many dimensions, but united in their uniqueness. GEAC 2022 will ground its work on what has been established by the GEACs in Canada, in France, in Great Britain. It's wonderful work, and there is no reason whatsoever to rewrite excellent work already been done. But we honor our promise to trace progress and backlash. It's important to track developments because we simply do not have the time to reiterate again and again goals G7 have already settled on. And I very much hope that I did not misunderstood Minister Paus yesterday in saying that this scoreboard is now established and working. We'll also focus on the horrible developments since the last GEAC. The Russian assault on the Ukraine, the developments in Afghanistan, and what it means for women and girls in particular, lack of money, energy, nutrition, health, freedom to move, and so much more. This is what we were working on. For GEAC, as for W7, it's indeed time to deliver. There is no way back to the world we once had. And as I may add personally, we do not want to have this world back. Instead of building back better, we need on to move to an inclusive, fair, and just world. We have to do so determined, strong as we are, and without patience for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And just for 1 second, I mean, you are applauding already, but I think we need to give the GEAC a sign that W7 will stand on your side to discuss with you and to join our forces to get gender equity done by the G7 and beyond. So, some applause for this. We're here to join our forces, definitely.
Yes, we do so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For your work.
So, and it's very good to know that it's not just in the G7 we have a women network, but we also have it in the G20. So our sisters from W20 wanted to come to Berlin, but sadly they couldn't. But we're very happy to have a video from the W20 Chairwoman, Hardiani Uli Silalahi, who will send her greetings to us to our summit. So enjoy the next video. At least I hope it comes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor for me to speak here at this remarkable journey of W7 Summit. My name is Hardiani Uli Silalahi, and I'm the chair of W20 Indonesia. W20 is sending support for our sisters, W7, for their successful journey, which is now being finalized with W7 Summit. As we all agree, Summit is the crucial point of our progress. Us here in W20 is also preparing for our summit, which is happening on July 19 to 21st in Lake Toba, North Sumatra. We are extending our invitation to you, our dearest sisters, to strengthen our commitment in women empowerment, while also enjoying the beautiful island of Sumatra, Indonesia. Our mission in W20 is showing concrete commitment in eradicating discrimination, in advocating economic inclusion of women MSMEs, increase access for rural women and women with disability, and integration of gender equitable health response in endorsed and integrated into G20 leaders' declaration. Since the early beginning of both our work, W7 and W20 recognized that importance of collaboration towards placing gender equality at the center of discussion of G20 and G7. We know that our line of work is crossing each other and is complementary to each other. Therefore, we endorse W7 recommendations being shaped into the communiqué. What is more important now is the commitment being shown by the G7 and G20 leaders in ensuring that our recommendations are implemented by the countries. We hope that moving forward, there are progress and concrete actions taken by our leaders in ensuring women and girls achieving adequate access and equality in the future. I'm sending my best wishes for the last day of the summit. I hope the high panel discussions went fruitful and enjoyable for everyone. We are support you from Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I can just return the greetings. So dear sisters from W20 in Indonesia and all over the world, thank you so much for your support. And here we are standing at your side. So as you just learned, the G20 is hosted by Indonesia this year. And coming up is India next year. And the G7 will be led by Japan. And I'm very, very happy to also have our W7 advisor from Japan here among us. So Fumie, please join me on stage, because we are really excited to understand, is there already anything planned for next year? Are you still looking for ideas? Can we talk to you about this? Or
looking for ideas and funding too, and so you can feed into me and then also another Japanese civil society. So yes, please give me some ideas. And well, I actually learned a lot of ideas from you.
That's good. So just 1 second. I think I'll give you the floor, and later over a glass of wine we'll share the ideas, but we'll listen to you first.
Well, thank you for inviting me here again to talk about the prospects of the W7 in Japan next year. But before that, first of all, I'd like to thank the National Council of German Women's Organization for hosting this wonderful W7 in Berlin. Over the last 2 days, we had extremely interesting and very insightful discussions. The sessions covered some recent and critical topics to existing gender issues, pointing out the need for holistic approach. I also appreciate the organizers' genuine hospitality. Thank you so much. In this W7, the cooperation between German government and civil society was also one of the highlights. We hope to continue to have this cooperative relationship with any governments in the future, including the next year's Japan. We welcome cooperation from governments not only to help organize W7, but also commit to promoting gender equality. However, at the same time, it is also crucial to maintain independence from governments, free from interference, so that civil society can be free to challenge policymakers and criticize policies. Healthy criticism and dialogue is a necessary part of advancing good policy making. We saw some excellent examples of this in yesterday's and today's panel discussions, where the ministers, high-ranking officials, and civil society representatives discussed issues at the same table. I sincerely hope to see the issues that were raised here today reflected in the G7 leaders' communique, and more importantly, in concrete commitments and implementations. Let me now talk about Japan and the prospects of the W7 next year. My organization, JOICEF, Japanese Organization for International Cooperation in Family Planning, works on creating a society in which women and girls can make their own choices regarding their sexual and reproductive health and rights. JOICEF also co-leads the gender unit of the Japanese Civil Society Network of SDGs with Japan Women's Watch. Next year, as Japan hosts the G7 summit, we'd like to host the G7, no, not G7, W7, well, G7 too, W7 together with other Japanese civil society groups. In the SDGs, Goal 5 sets gender equality, but we heard many times in this last 2 days, gender is a cross-cutting issue, so we have to work on all 17 goals through gender lens by breaking down silos. In addition, unlike the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, SDGs require every country, including the G7 countries, to tackle the issues set in the SDGs within their own countries. So that means advocacy for gender equality and the rights of women and girls, including sexual reproductive health and rights, is needed for not only for the Global South, but also for G7 countries. We hope that W7 will provide opportunity to advance gender equality and solve gender-related issues in Japan, linking global issues to regional and national issues. Japan finds itself in a very unique position. While it is recognized as one of the most economically developed countries in the world, but it is much less developed in terms of gender equality. Indeed, in the 2021 Gender Gap Index of the World Economic Forum, Japan ranked 120th in the among 156 countries, 120th, of course the lowest among the G7 countries, while Germany ranks 11th, the highest among G7 countries, and followed by France 16th, UK 23rd, Canada 24th, United States 30th, and Italy 63rd. None of the G7 countries are within top 10. So that means we have a lot of work. Well, thank you. There are many domestic issues that contribute to hindering gender equality and the rights of women and girls in Japan. Before coming here, I asked over 500 members of the SDGs Gender Unit about what I should talk as a prospect for the next year. And they noted in Japan, women's rights are not aligned with the global standard. In order to close the gender gap and push up the Japanese ranking, it is important that Japanese government take all recommendations from CEDAW and also ratify its optional protocol, which would allow individual complaints to the committee. Other members also sent me the issues that Japan needs to tackle, including the issues such as the redress of the survivors of forced sterilization under the eugenic law, legal discrimination against children out of wedlock on the registration system, difficulty of access to contraceptives, including emergency contraception and safe abortion, especially for young women and migrant women workers. They expect the W7 play a catalyst role in helping to improve these issues in Japan. The core principle of SDGs, ensuring that no one left behind, should be also placed at the center of W7, as we heard the panel discussion. We should include the issues of people who are marginalized and vulnerable situations, LGBTQ, indigenous people, people with disabilities, displaced and refugee women, migrant women, women in poverty, aging populations, youth and adolescents, people living in rural areas, and people facing climate crisis. The participation of the Global South should be also ensured. Among the G7 countries, Japan is the only country located in Asia, so women from the Asia and the Pacific region in particular should be encouraged to participate in the next year's discussion. Youth participation will also be welcomed. This is also emphasized in a panel discussion yesterday. And recently, JOICEF, my organization, has been promoting youth advocacy. As you know, young people are more open to delivering their views through social media, and their reactions are fast and messages are clear, and they spread fast, leading up to policy changes quickly. Prior to this W7, Youth 7, Y7 had 5 days intensive discussions to make their communique. The power of the youth will surely energize W7. Before closing my remarks, I should mention, and I should take advantage of this opportunity also talking about we are currently looking for funding to help organize W7 in Japan. So please reach out to me if you have any ideas on possible funding opportunities. The next year, we'd like to continue to build on the success of previous W7 discussions, including the issue discussed in Germany. The time differences could be a challenge, so please come to Japan. We would encourage you all to participate in Japanese discussion. We look forward to having you in the next W7, and where feminists gather in Japan and discuss potential solutions to make this world better for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fumie, Saito. We're really looking forward to go to Japan and to support you the best way possible. So thank you so much for your energy. And the next point on our agenda is a quite bit different to everything else we enjoyed so far, because I'd like to introduce you Lili Krause, and she will give a feminist intervention of a different kind. So, Lili, would you join me on stage? I'm looking in this direction. There you are. There she is. So I leave the stage. Lili, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to share with you 3 poems today. The first one is called You Take and is about anger. The second poem is called, it's about sadness, and it's called Thank You. And the third one is called White Feminism, and that one is about solidarity and sisterhood. You take. You take the fun, I take the work. You take the credit, I do the work. You climb the ladder, I finish the work. You become the leader on my behalf. We give you babies, we give you sex, we give our careers. We give away our time, we give away all that could have been, while you are just fine. You are missing one thing: the power of all of us who have done the work unlike you and had no voice. For centuries, that time lies heavy on our chests, too heavy to turn away. So, let us take the fun while you take the work. Let us take the credit while you do the work. And let us climb the ladder on your behalf. Until we reach a moment of peace and our collective feeling of unease finally disappears, with it our fears. When we stand like humans, not woman nor man, and we feel for each other and feel sorry for the pain, we will see that a man cares. We will take finally equal shares in all areas of our lives, truly yours, your wives. Thank you. Let us be happy. How can we be? Let us be sad. How can we not be? Looking at the world's sorrow with just a blinking eye, can I just borrow the bird's way to fly? Right over the ocean and back, so that I can thank you for what is and for all that I miss. White feminism. Hey, sisters in the South, now I shall shut my mouth and hear you speak. We were often too weak. It is your turn now. all white feminists vow to hear you out when you speak about feminist ideas and action, as ours is only a fraction of our common struggle. This poem I shall smuggle onto the world stage, where people will start to care about all the ways in which your perspective makes us rich.
Lili Krause, the applause is yours. Oh my God, how much energizing is this? Thank you so much for engaging with us. Thank you so much. I'm a little bit excited today, you might have noticed. So I forgot to ask you one last question. We wanted to engage with you. So I just do it right now. Describe with one word your hopes for the future regarding gender justice. So let's take a look ahead. One word. We achieved gender justice. What is this all about? You know the games of the rule. Just click, I'm not quite sure on this side or that side, and then enter just 1 to 3 words. The future of gender equality, how will it look like? And we take a look at this cloud at the end of our summit. So now it's time already for a wrap up. So I'd like to welcome 2 more W7 advisors on our stage. And here they are, they're coming in my direction, very good. We have Christina Heinze and Reine. Please have a seat with me. Christine and... I just realized you're both authors. Did you know that? Both of you wrote books, yes. So Christina Heinze is sitting next to me and Reine Kouété is next to her. And Christina is the founder of Young Business and Professional Women Germany. And your book is called Women on the Course of Success with Mentoring, How to Get Ahead. And I'm very happy that you're here to share your ideas and experience from the last days. And Reine, your book is called The Stolen Childhood, right? So just write it down and just order the books, because this is a way to help women directly. Now you work in solidarity tourism and targeting the region of south of Sahara, mainly Congo and Cameroon. You told me you support women and young girls and you teach them the skills for entrepreneurship, so they become role models and find their way out of violence. Thank you so much for coming here. And not just for coming here, but to get engaged with W7 and work intensely for the last months. So once again, thank you so much. Without your support, this would not have been possible. But as I said, this is a session about wrapping up our summit and just taking our time to reflect what did happen. So Christine, your impression from the last 2 days?
Or shall I? That was okay. So, thank you very much for the introduction and for the invitation. The last 2 days have been very thrilling for me, but also I was a little bit surprised. We have been very, very friendly. So, thus I would like to take a comment by the representative from our Youth 7. She said, actually, she's tired of old white men making decisions for all areas of my life. Actually, I'm advocating for women's rights for 30 years. You know, I'm not any longer tired. I'm really angry. So I think it's very important that we have demands here, and it's really time to deliver. And I demand that women have to sit at the decision-making table in the economy, in politics, in peace and security, as we heard. That's what I took on here in the last 2 days, because I'm very much convinced that a fair involvement of women will ensure that we will be ahead of the curve of developments and will not always react on crises and conflicts, what we have seen in the recent past. But we can ensure by involvement of women and also grassroots women to ensure forward-looking and preemptive action. I would like also to highlight one point which is very much to my heart. I'm a senior banker. So, and also Mr. Meyer yesterday explained that at certain topics, we just are at the point where we have a small and historic window of opportunities at the moment, and especially when it comes to ESG and non-financial reporting. I think it can't be that in the corporate world, the corporate world is only focusing on the E, on the environment. When it comes to S, the social in the ESG, it is mainly associated with charity projects and philanthropy, and not gender equality and human rights. I also demand that we have to focus on that. And honestly, we have to, I think, maybe be not so friendly anymore, because after 30 years of doing advocacy work for women, I think we can really strongly demand, because not many things have changed, but not everything, and only in small steps, what we have also heard in the last 2 days. Yeah, that's for me the wrap up. It was very exciting to be here, and and I'm happy also to see the diverse base of women, but maybe I have the chance also to maybe comment more on the process, what we had in the W7.
Definitely. But I think you just stressed very well, it is time to deliver. The time is up. It is about time to do something else. Reine, just taking a look into the future, I mean, we discussed this very shortly this morning. Just taking into account what we heard today and yesterday, and regarding the participation of women on goals and the inclusion and their perspectives from the girls from the Global South, what are your feelings around this issue when you take a look in the future? How do you feel about that?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for your invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here in Berlin. I think that we can change the life of millions of girls and women with the transformation of the society. School is supposed to protect children. I have a tooth for the people, including children who lost their life yesterday in the United States. The perspective for the Global South is very simple. It's like the life in Europe or in America. We have to ensure that governments have sufficient fiscal space, and they want to contribute and collaborate with civil society. Is very, very important. Promote the education schooling of young girls. For example, with our organization, we help young girls to go to school in Africa, in Central Africa, in Cameroon, and we help organization Feminist in Republic of Democratic of Congo to do action. We have to create awareness-raising tools to fight against violence, and these tools have to be adapted to the local context. We have to transform the informal economy to the formal, because women empowerment have to be with the creation of the investment and transformation of society depend with the informal or formal level. We have to promote digital learning and encourage young girls to be in the scientific domain, to be doctor, to be teacher. You have to create female model figure. When I'm going to Africa, they tell me that you are my model. And is the opportunity there in Women7 for the G7 leaders to create more and more figure leader for all the diversity women in the world. We have to promote women's entrepreneurship, set up structures. My dream is to create a women's center for women and girls in Africa, because they don't have the possibility to have information, sensibilization, and all this work with us. This is like my colleague tell, nothing. We have to support initiatives and projects for the small organizations also. And we have to sensitize about gender equality preservation of the cultural heritage of indigenous people, hygiene, first aid, and climate change. So, if you ask me that, what is the future? I think that the future that we want is to act. And I am in Berlin. I am happy to see other W20 advisors to act. And the action is the solution of the future. The education is the key of the success.
Thank you so much. Action is the key to future, and I think it's very important to understand. I think Fumie underlines this quite well. W7 is not just a 2 days event. It's not even an event for 1 year. It's something which we have to work on constantly to really use the energy we're creating this year and to bring this into the next year. So we're going to this other question, talking about process, and I'm talking to one of the co-chairs of our working group. So Christina, you've been engaged intensely, and we're really thankful for that. So I assume you have a lot of things to say about the process as well.
Yes. First of all, I was very honored to be named, and also my organization were very honored that I was named W7 advisor, and of course also the co-chair of economic empowerment and rights and justice. Actually, we have been a very diverse base of advisors, but interestingly, what I also know from my organization is that nonetheless we are a very diverse base of women. We can very easily agree on the large consensus because we are concerned with very similar topics. So the same was in our working group. Our consensus was pretty fast reached, but the whole content, what we had on our agenda, was the big challenge was to really put the content in clear, brief demands and to ensure accountability. Because we had to consider that politicians do not have so much time to listen. So we had to be brief and precise, and which is very important in the G7 process, to ensure and implement accountability, because at the moment what happens is that every year there's another G7 presidency and things change, and maybe things which have been progressed the year before might not be any longer progressed again. So, and now as a banker, I'm coming to another point. As Mrs. Paus correctly mentioned yesterday, 50% of the G7 population are women. But our Women7 process was not financed by 50%. We partially only got maybe 1/3 of other processes. So if the governments of the G7 countries really take it seriously, I think they have to dedicate more finance and more funding and more resources to the Women7. Otherwise, it will be difficult to work. For example, for me, I do it only voluntarily, and most of my members of the working group did it voluntarily. So it's a lot of effort for us, and if very good results shall be produced, we need more resources.
I think this was stated very clearly almost in every panel. I'm just saying it again, put the money in the hands of women and women-led organizations. And this is key to every solution to fight all the problems. So Reine, maybe last chance to address the G7 leaders. So what would you say to them? What is most important to be done to accomplish what you just so beautifully described when looking ahead into the future?
I just want to say to G7 leaders that everywhere in the world we have crises. We made these recommendations to use these. It is up to them to act quickly for security, climate change, gender equality, health, education, women empowerment, numeric and development of Africa. Why Africa? Because this continent will be the most continent with the young people in the future. They can count on civil society to do so. It's time to deliver. Thank you to all those who work for the success of this summit. I hope that we can see you in 2033 in Japan. We have to include men in the subject because work with women without men is impossible. So G7 leaders, we hope that you are fine to help us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And actually, I'm very curious to understand whether there was something like a special highlight in the last days for you. You get a couple of minutes to think about that, because I was just curious to understand, is it possible to show the last cloud? I mean, I had this question, yes. So we were looking into the future and how would gender equality look like and what it's needed. Well, all are included. Equity is very important. G7 plays a part, parity plays a part, opportunities, and the economy is part of it. And I can see peace. Peace is definitely very important. So thank you so much for engaging with this on this with us. And as I said, well, what was your last most favorite part of the last 2 days? I assume everything, but maybe something in particular you liked very much. Maybe Reine, you're already smiling, so maybe you can start.
I am a writer, and I help women and girls to write and to express themselves. So I invite all of you to go to Amazon and read the story of a young girl who tell her story, and we fight against violence. So the title of the book is A Stolen Childhood. And I have to finish just one word: equality.
Equality is your last word, and this is definitely important. But I'm not giving up. Is anybody brave enough to say this was the most special part? You can say the food in the background, but it's okay.
I would not say the highlight, but I had a couple of surprises, because I was surprised that there was so much consensus also among politicians, and that they promised that everything is already done and everything is already ensured, and that we have like feminist foreign policy and that we already have everything. But I think for me, the reality looks a bit different. So that was my surprise. And also my surprise was, as I mentioned earlier, that actually we are still so friendly. So, and when we really want to accomplish our demands and that our demands are put into practice, maybe we should not be any longer so friendly. Maybe we should be really more demanding and really stressing that we demand it. We are 50%.
Yes, I think my favorite moment was literally the moment then as he took our recommendations into his hands. I mean, this was a clear sign, and we're watching him very closely whether he's working on that. And I definitely agree. We have the right to be here. We are fighting constantly for years. And my most favorite moment was the situation I realized I won't be alone in this room. I will be accompanied by you, finally, after years of just working in front of screens. So this was definitely very energizing, and thank you so much.